Hi there. This is my podcast, Soliloquest, and I'm just trying to get used to the AR/VR world. Bear with me if I end up being a little slow because I'm still trying to get used to this whole world. I mean, I'm just trying to catch up my news, which I can on the browser, uh, on this, and let's try and see what's the latest. It's pretty cold outside in Austin today. The temperatures have fallen with this Arctic blast that is running through I think the entire US right now. It's raining outside, the conditions are supposed to be slippery and icy and all that, and I am comfortably snuggled into this corner, which I often resort to. This is my life right now. I'm sure I'd look back and reminisce these good days in a way. Yeah, I mean, good or bad, I don't know. I'm still waiting to kind of get a breakthrough in terms of my work and my job, and with all the visa and such hassles. Never mind. I mean, I just finished back to back two episodes of Joe Rogan Experience. One with Theo Vaughn, all-time favorite. I think he's a guy with a who should have a genre of his own in my mind. That's how much I like his sense of humor. At times, it's just so wacky and fresh. And the other one today just released was Mel Gibson, another wacky dude, but I think eccentricity is where the genius lies. So I kind of like him. So I've always liked him. His movies have been insane. So back to back that, and then Nikki Glazer's monologue at the Golden Globes. My favorite comedian by far, and out of bias or whatever, but she's just amazing as always. I think she did better, of course, at the Brady roast, but this was not bad either. So yeah, we'll talk about that. So Theo on, I think they were just rambling about all topics. They just segue from one to the other and to the other and to the next. But Theo is a gem, and that's what I kind of wait all through. While I mean Joe Rogan is trying to make his points, but I think the whole point of having Theo Vaughn is to let him speak, and speak he does, and when he does, he just connects the dots, which are so wacky and so disjointed topics, and his takes are so tangential that there's a sphere, there's a curve, and then it would just fly off into totally different direction. And I mean, anyways, and his anecdotes are from his life are beyond anyone else's, and his experiences are insane. Rogan's white beard is noticeable, but that's that. He talked about free speech, and something I think a lot about, and I wonder what is this whole free speech thing about, and then if it is there, then why is it that when the comedians go for a stand-up or an open mic podcast, like let's say Kill Tony, and then they would go and say that, or I've heard a lot of times that they would say, all right, I'm going to get fired now. If free speech means free speech, I mean, why do they get fired? I'm still trying to get my head around that. I mean, why does a person's personal time, which is away from the job, really matter for the companies, and that they can get fired on having a take at a comedy club or a stand-up open mic? Then they talk about a lot of other stuff like the Twitter bots, fake accounts, and something that came up when Musk was trying to buy Twitter, and those millions and millions of accounts, fake accounts, can alter public opinion, influencing and manipulating the people into voting, and then changing the whole face of a democracy as such. So it's quite a serious matter for that. I mean, for somebody to look into, and what would happen to it is only one's guess as the time passes on. Migrant crisis is something they refer to as well. I mean, again, he does make a good point that it's about the kind of immigration that is happening, and specifically the fact that there are laws around it, and those laws are being broken and circumvented is where things are going wrong. So immigration is necessary and is needed, but the checks and balances need to be, taken into consideration, and the sanctity of those checks and balances need to be maintained. I think I agree with that. Autism to junk food to eating junk food in moderate quantities doesn't harm the case, is what their take was. And I know the gender debate, and then they land into this favorite territory of Joe Rogan called the aliens. I mean, to be fair, they did talk a lot of other things as well, but aliens is where they got carried away into, and that's where I kind of moved on to the next episode, because I already saw that it aired And this one was the one with Mel Gibson, which caught my eye and attention because I think I saw him after a long, long time, and that to doing something of a long format podcast like this. I mean, of course, there's more you could, or I was anticipating to hear about this guy. The last I saw or remember of him was when Ricky Gervais tried to poke fun at him at the Golden Globes back in the day when he was hosting and roasting, if I may say, not just hosting. So yeah, I mean, Mel Gibson, he began with his health, his fidgetiness, and why, where things are. The wildfires right now in Los Angeles and the risk of losing his home right now, and he got alternate plays in Costa Rica. Then they talked about Costa Rica being dangerous or not, and he explained, because it looks like he has lived there and traveled there quite a bit, studied the civilization, because that's how he made the movie, and Apocalypto as well, is that it's not as bad as they make it out to be, like the whole of it. But yeah, I mean, there are parts which are dangerous, and that's the case with every place. I mean, you name it. So, and he's got himself in a couple of eerie situations, and how he was trying to mention that things can get dark in one's own brain, and he's acted crazy at times back in the day. And they talked about this whole the wildfire situation right now, which has been going on for years now, and the amount of money that the government end up spending on homeless, that's what his point was, is far more than they do anything about the wildfire situation, apparently. All in all, I mean, Joe Rogan's pet peeve is that California is poorly managed, and that's why he left. Coming back to the reference to his movie in Apocalypto is where I was really hooked on to, because he explained how what his thought process was and how civilizations come to an end, and he kind of related that to our contemporary lives, where everything's in order until it's not, and we saw what happens in the whole wake of COVID and aftermath of COVID, or during COVID. So the collective human conscience can really swing one way or the other, and then justify whatever the deeds are. Like, for instance, human sacrifice, it talks about it. We do sacrifice humans in one way or shape or the form, or packaging it in terms of wars, and good wars, bad wars, but there is human sacrifice happening, and such. Good part is I mean, he apparently has come on to the show maybe to promote his movie, which is The Flight Risk, which he mentions and talks of, and Mark Wahlberg, I think, is there in it. So yeah, looking forward to that. It's coming on January itself. I don't remember the date. It's in the 20s. Yeah. Then they talk about papal politics, the Pope, the clergy, and the pedophilia, and such, and the dark side of human brain. Apparently he got himself tested with the doctor telling him that he's got the worst case of PTSD, in fact worse than the people who come back from wars. That he kind of referenced to have been because of his early years of playing rugby, and that without helmet, and getting a lot of injuries and stuff like that. But he does mention that he tried something really, really wacky, which is fish oil, vitamin B complex, and hyperbaric chamber treatment. I don't know. I mean, these two guys are just at a different level. I mean, the kind of things they can handle, they can try and attempt, and they have done, is insane. I can't even think of doing anything remotely closely to that. I'm just scared of it all. He then diverges into Christianity, how he came about with the idea of doing the movie Passion of the Christ, and Christ, the belief, his belief versus evidences in history and stuff like that. They came to a point where they referenced something called a Turin shroud, and the whole controversy around it, whereby there is apparently a shroud which had the corpse of supposedly corpse of Jesus, and because of the nuclear radiation, apparently the imprints got burnt, singed into the cloth, and the whole conspiracy or controversy around it. Asked about the belief in evolution, he denied that he's not a believer. He doubts it because there's not clear answers that he could get. But he does believe in high power, and even questioned carbon dating. So yeah, you could have your own take on what that means for you. But just goes to show, or tells you more about the person and how he thinks, and that's why he's able to make these movies which are more primal and primitive. And in fact, he was on admitting and saying that he likes that genre. He's primal. He reads a lot of history books and stuff like that. And clearly, I mean, the movie Apocalypto kind of shows his ability, and the others as well, to tackle that topic very well. In fact, better than the others. Uh, Thankfully, I mean, that's all he gets into. He gets into mind power and all that, and he believes in all those things. He believes in the high power. All said aside, I was looking forward to something he would give, and he gave a promise of or hope of coming up with another movie that he's planning, and which will be similar to the Passion of the Christ. It's going to be the resurrection of the Christ, and let's see what it turns out to be. A long episode, quite quite engaging if you're looking forward to hear from Mel Gibson after a long time, and it did not disappoint at all. Thanks to Joe Rogan to bring such interesting people again and again. Coming to Nikki Glazer, her monologue, much awaited. Thankfully, she lived up to the expectations, very high expectations from her. As you go higher, I think, especially in the comedy world, it gets tougher and tougher. Your jokes have to be sharper and crisper, and I think she just managed to do that. She did look nervous a bit compared to how comfortable she looked in the Brady roast, but maybe it's because of the very high expectations and the kind of glamour and glitz all around in that room, compared to the other one where she was surrounded by her compatriots, her counterparts. She was playing a sport at that point in time, but this one was more about a performance, But amazing. I mean, again, gosh, some of the jokes, and in fact, most of the jokes inspired me to do some writing of my own. It's just the amount of laziness that I have not been able to write anything till now. But yeah, let's see. I mean, amazing performance again. Well, the next one was this episode of Dr. Phil Live. I'm not sure if you're into this comedy by Adam Ray, but I am hooked onto this guy's performance one after the other. I think he's holding on his own quite solid. Again, the two characters, the two people that he brought onto the show were really, really interesting, and two of my favorites apparently, and long lost. I mean, in this whole deluge of information and content that has come up, but these used to be the stars apparently in their own right. So one was Jay Leno, and the other one was Wayne Brady from Whose Line Is It Anyway? And was it funny? I mean, it is just one of the best episodes that have come out. Except the other one where the whole at the New Year end, where Dr. Phil himself kind of comes over to the stage and all that happened. But yeah, I mean, pretty damn good episode. So Dr. Phil live with Jay Leno, Wayne Brady, and Jaleel White. This episode is pretty good and worth watching, I would say. What else is interesting is the Trump's pitch to acquire Greenland from Denmark. Funny enough, in response to this, the Danish king has apparently changed the coat of arms to specifically feature Greenland and Faroe Islands as Danish territory. It's going to be interesting because Trump is quite clear in the way he's kind of phrasing it. He's saying this is a national security need, purpose, that the ownership and control of Greenland, in fact, is an absolute necessity. So it's going to be interesting how this turns out, because the last time he offered money in 2019, they refused. But this time it looks serious that he's going to impose tariffs on Denmark to get this done. So yeah, that is there. And then he included Panama in this change of events or an intent. So reasserting control over Panama Canal because they charge excessive fees for the ship traffic that comes to America. And that ends up, raising the cost of products and goods in US. The sharp responses from these leaders of these two countries specifically is just a little funny, because it's in fact to the president of the US and no smaller a country. So you can just open the map and see the size of these two countries specifically. The last one, which is Canada as the 51st state of the US, is a bit too much, honestly. I mean, it's funny and a bit unsettling for Canadians, I guess, because they're like a proper expansive country. So not sure how Canadians must be feeling about this one, but this is amazing. This is like, this is going to be something. The next few years are going to be something, because the world order is suddenly going to change. Looks like the West is not that united, you might find. Hopefully the other side will not be able to capitalize on this bit too much. But yeah, I mean, this is very interesting. Well, that's a wrap on this one. I'm going to probably watch more, read more, and come back again with the next one. Until next time, have a good one.